of things breaking.
Dun, dun,
There we
dun.
go.
Okay, so first ban Tassadar from Vox Nihili. First pick Brightwing, no surprise at all. This seems like a pretty common trend to ban ETC and pick up Brightwing, and especially on Sky Temple. And this is something that we see a team like Ballistics, the Gold Cup World Champions, the BlizzCon Champions. And this is their MO. They draft a composition to where they take ETC off the table, they get an early pick Brightwing, and then they force rotations that they get early advantages on Sky. And this is Sky Temple's specific strategy.
Yeah, it's a nice approach. Tassadar being banned out for on the side of Vox. Probably going to go Vala. I wouldn't be too surprised if we actually saw an early prioritization of Dahaka. I don't know how much Vox has been playing Dahaka. But when ETC is banned out, that's when you start to see those other warriors start to rise in the spots. Dahaka is one that comes to mind. Zarya is another one. Murden's great as well.
I feel like if they don't pick up Li Ming here, then that might be an early pick for Grandmaster. I think that she's just such a strong assassin on this map in particular. Plus, it gives you kind of like an early advantage. I mean, the fact that Vala's picked up, now you don't necessarily have to. This is a map where I actually prefer Li Ming over Vala. And I think it could be up in the air. It could be 50-50 split there. But I really would like to see Li Ming, if they're looking for a similar strategy to force rotations. I think we're likely going to be seeing Brightwing in the bottom lane early, in the top lane before the second Temple phase. A lot of that early strategy, but to be able to port in between, to shift in between, to turn team fights, and then also get early map pressure. And that's kind of the key when you run an early Brightwing pick on Sky Temple.
Well, there's the Li Ming, as mentioned. Thinking about it, just utilizing the last few seconds, now stepping into the bonus pool. Beyond that, the last slot here for Grandmaster. I still like a warrior, or at least like something like Zarya.
Give me, well, there's one way. Zeratul.
Okay.
That works as well. Zeratul, we talk about this being one of his better maps all the time. Especially in the fact that he's got kind of that open room to work. And it's mainly, one of his best maps because of the way that you can position Void Prison. You have an open area. Teams tend to be split a little bit more in team fights. They're not bunched up as much. And sometimes isolating heroes is far better than grouping up an entire group of heroes.
Yeah. Also, just you never know when he's going to be pressuring you in lane, when he's going to be catching you in rotation. Is a great way to just scout, get vision, everything about the hero. A lot of strength. They're looking at Tyrael for that dive hero, big frontliner, sanctification, big threat as well, paired with other.
Remember what we saw in Towers of Doom? Zeratul would just casually walk up somewhere, all cloaked and everything. Brightwing would come in. All of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
There's the Zarya respect. Banning her out. Warrior pool has been heavily restricted with 3 warrior bans in the draft.
No priority for Murden or Warriors at all. Is that weird?
I don't think it's that weird right now. Murden isn't as scary as a lot of the other Warriors anymore, just because it's not about the pick meta anymore. I mean, he really excels if you're going for those picks. But look at the prioritization on stuns. Like, in general, there's none. That's just kind of the state of Heroes of the Storm. He'll make his way back in the meta. He's still very good, but it's almost like he's more of like that secondary bruiser than like your lockdown hero.
Vox Nihili used to play a lot of Thrall and a lot of Falstad, and they pick up Thrall right now. I wonder if they might save Falstad for that last pick, maybe give themselves a global, be able to put some pressure themselves. I think they might have one roster change from the thing. I've got to double check their roster. I feel like there was one person that might not be there that was there before. We'll see when we get into the game. But Grandmaster Jackets, they need the Warrior. Murden, obviously the next left in terms of that top-tier meta. But what do they pick up at the end? Do they need another frontliner? Go Dahaka, double global?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who else would work other than Dahaka. Dahaka makes sense. The double global gives you a lot of options. Falstad is fine.
There's one way to get double global.
But Let's think about this, Jay Howe. I mean, Gust is phenomenal, but is that like their response to Earthquake? Are they going to like say, if you're looking for the fight with Earthquake, we have Gust as a disengage? They already have Void Prism. That's not really what you want to use to counter Earthquake necessarily. Earthquake persists for so long, too.
It's time for Nova.
Hello? You've been playing too much Ghost Protocol, man.
A little bit. I'm trying to think of what's really left on the board. And Dahaka, when you're facing double global, it almost it's not a bad pick. And I think it's a really good pick, but it almost seems like an obvious pick, and that you can't really deal with Falstad Brightwing Global without one of your own for such a big map like Sky Temple.
Yeah, the Dahaka pick's fine. I think it's just going to bolster the potential for Chen too, or for Thrall. When Thrall's in the front line, especially if he does go Earthquake, which is quite likely with this composition as a whole, it's so easy to land those drags. You find that one target that you're looking for, you run in with the Earthquake, you drag the target, and then Vala and Thrall just go to town. All the while, Johanna can body block and be a big annoyance in there too.
They've got a lot of tools to deal with it. Void Prison will be there. Gust is available. We're going to see if it's going to be Emerald Wind or that Blink Heal. Li Ming should be safe and sound. Muradin, just got to be careful not to get locked down in the middle of all that.
Well, Sky Temple, guys, remember, this is our first semifinals of the night, Jay Howe. This is qualification for HGC 2017. It's a best-of-5 series. The team that wins here, they earn a salary. At least 6 months are locked in for 50 grand. If they manage to stay in for the full year, that's a $100,000 salary for the team.
It's a pretty big deal. I mean, both these teams would love to qualify now. You get into next week, the pressure's only going to mount because it's not double elimination. Next weekend, you're going to be completely out if that's how it goes. So we'll see. Vox Nihili taking up against Grandmaster Jackets.
And Vox Nihili, they've got Daihu on Johanna. How going to be playing the Thrall Hosty on Vala. Zeus playing Dahaka, and Lex Uther on Malfurion. That's your #1 seed in this qualifier, Vox Nihili.
Grandmaster Jackets continuing the role swaps from time to time because it's actually going to be Collusion on Brightwing, Insomnia on Zeratul, Zugrug on Muradin, Nasmos on Falstad, and Dansky on Li Ming.
Jay Howe, I'm so pumped for both of these semifinals coming up here. The gates have opened, and let's take a look at the level 1 talents already. Muradin, thinking about it. Give him some thought there. Also speccing into the Innervate. Not so much prioritization on things like Moonburn. If you can keep that Vala fed with mana, if you can keep those Vala's cooldowns reduced, and she can maximize that damage, it's scary.
That is... I guess there's no real threat there. Dahaka's going to be the only one that can possibly flank. We've got globals. We've got one at the top, one at the bottom. Both of them willing to be able to sacrifice themselves to get to another lane to turn a fight if need be. So early stall tactics in terms of the minions here in the middle on the side of Vox Nihili.
Yeah, but just some safe soaking happening as they wait those last few moments to collect their minions.
It's almost like... You want to say this is boring, but it's almost kind of tense because Zeratul's on the board. And nobody has really spotted everybody. They're finally getting out into lanes now. And you just wonder, who's going to get on me and how bad's it going to hurt? And Zeus is finding out real early.
And Zeus already has to tap. That's just the threat there, and somebody can provide on Zeratul, rotating into the lane, especially now that we have the new build. Zeratul is quite spooky, level 1, right out of the gates.
I like the fact that, obviously you're going to put your globals in the lane that that the temples aren't going to be on, and that way you can be able to maximize your soaking, be able to get that experience, and then join the fight. And we see Zeratul, the threat that was going on there. Already in the middle is Vox Nihili getting some early shots.
Okay, Insomnia just going to grab the watchtower for the team. Brightwing maintaining soak in the top lane. That's something we don't have on the side of Vox presently. They are down in that soak, but the globals, both in the bottom, are in a stalemate.
Thing about Muradin, Johanna, both of these are very beefy warriors and can be able to stand on that front line. And just trying to delay out some of those shots early was Zugrug there on Muradin, see if they can kind of change this up and how to win. A little bit curious on what's going on up here at the top.
Yeah, just trying to make sure he maintains that presence, also gets the soak for the team, knowing that it's safe to do so. Zugrug going to take some light poke, but of course that's not at all relevant at this point in time.
Well, the globals are still hanging out down here on the bottom as we see Falstad and Dahaka, but here in the middle, Insomnia taking a little bit of poke there from Vala. Can't stay too long, blinks on out.
Yeah, pretty much just dead even trade. The Temples finishing up their shots last moment. Slight structural advantage on the side of Grandmaster Jackets with half a level lead to boot. So I'd say it's a nice start for them. Just the pressure in the rotations, a little bit cleaner.
Now, this is what I like to see. The pressure that we see, this is a Ballistics textbook move. I don't know if they've studied them or not, but this is exactly what they do. There's zero hesitation. The minute that Temple phase ends, they come to the bottom, they grab siege camps, and then they start to push their way up. Yes, this is general strategy. A lot of teams do this. But the manner in which they do it, the speed in which they do it, and the amount of people, the amount of heroes that they commit to it is what makes this so effective. And they're pushing 3 people down here in the bottom. They're getting some early damage in to make that next Temple phase even more valuable.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised they didn't commit more.
That's tower. Regardless, it's still a very valuable situation. The fall side flying on up just to get into this top part of the map. Maybe put some threat onto Dahaka. I guess they want the Merc camp. Okay.
See, this is normally like the way that they do it is they'll continue to put pressure. They'll get the pressure. They'll get that bottom wall down, and they'll make sure that they have 3 people committed to it. Then they go to the middle lane, and then they'll put pressure and take down more on that wall, and then they start to back off. We saw a little bit of hesitation to where they didn't do anything for a moment, and they lost value in their globals and the opportunity to really start to get some of that structure advantage.
Yeah, but just talking about value, I mean, these Giants, they actually accomplished nothing at all. The timing in which they did this, they grabbed it, then they rotated up to grab the Knights. Those Knights will collide with the Red Knights, and the top should be pretty even in the end. But they're actually leaving quite a few bodies up here to maintain the pressure as the bottom temple is going to be up to 10 seconds, which means they will be there a little bit later.
Yeah, the biggest thing about that is that the second temple phase is always the bottom temple. And if you can just get that keep wall down, or the fort wall down, those temple shots will immediately start firing at your opponents well, and they might not have something to go back and tap towards. And that normally will win you the fight and give you that advantage in that race towards 10. And that's always why we see that strategy. It's a textbook strategy that Ballistics has mastered. And right now, we see a little bit of a slip up. We're going to see if they can get some shots in as Dansky, getting the early rotation down, getting a few of the shots out for now.
Insomnia took a lot of pressure, has to tap the well. Right, that's going to actually give complete control for the time being. But we have to talk about that Soak, Falstad, and Brightwing getting a ton of experience for their team. Now, even if they give up this temple, sure, they might lose the fort out of it. But, oh my goodness, Brightwing was just a moment too late to get in there in time to save Insomnia.
Just a little bit too late indeed, and that's going to be an easy temple going over to Vox Nihili, playing this appropriately. As you can see, they're not getting as much value out of the temple because they didn't get those wall down with that siege camp, but they are winning that indeed as the rotation up here to deal with the collusion Soak in the top lane.
And now with all that additional Soak that we saw on the side of Grandmaster Jackets that we were talking about, it doesn't really matter. Having the one hero get picked off, the rotations were then freed up essentially for Thrall to make his way up the top a little bit sooner than expected. The final shots went off from the temple, and we have a dead even game in terms of the XP. Structurally, pretty darn even as well, considering Brightwing with that camp were able to do quite a bit.
This is the cool part I like, Jake, is that these teams, they're fairly even in terms of their skill level. They're both very good teams. Are they at the top tier of North America? Not yet. They have the potential to be. That's how good they are. But we find ourselves at pretty much a dead even heat early on, 1 kill to 0. You got to think that these teams respect each other, and they respect the threat of, hey, we don't want to go out. We want to qualify this go-around.
No one wants to be in that position of this is our last possible qualifier. This is our last possible chance to be part of the first ever Heroes of the Storm League, like the true league. And that's what this is all about here. Stakes haven't been higher in quite a long time, maybe ever.
I think ever is a pretty big deal. The guaranteed salary is just huge. Let's go back, take a look at the top. We see Dahaka is caught out up there. He's forced to burrow with the rotation up from Insomnia and Falstad. He's able to keep himself alive with that essence, Jake. Nicely played there by Zeus.
That's a big deal. The fact that they didn't get that kill, the fact that they spent a lot of resources for that, allows the rotation to come up, and now they can look to turn that kill in their favor. 10 to 11, all those heroics very much on the table. And remember, we were talking about the power of Earthquake, the power of that drag going in there. There's also Isolation, Twilight Dream, Strafe. Like, that's not a fight you want to be flanked by.
I wonder what it's like to be isolated in the middle of an earthquake. Like, which way am I going here, guys? Lead me, I'm blind.
You're going underground, J-Hal.
You're going underground. Siege Camp's picked up again. This is an interesting temple phase. Top and bottom temple normally want to keep an eye on that bottom one just because of the threat of right there, that boss.
Yeah, it's pretty common. Dahaka, Brightwing, both the globals in the top lane right now, or two of the globals at least. And it looks like both teams looking to put their eyes on that bottom, as you mentioned. Far more valuable considering the boss is nearby.
Yeah, and there's not really an advantage of either the hero up at the top. If we see Brightwing start to shift down, then you'll see the Burrow, the Brushstalker come in from Dahaka. Nobody has a true advantage, so it's a matter of the 4v4 that we're seeing here, and a little bit of pressure right now being put on by Grandmaster Jackets.
Okay, VP goes down as Disintegrates, only hitting one target. The Earthquake is monstrous. Mighty Gust desperately used, but the Strafe Pop-Out is doing a ton of damage. Zugrug, does he have the Dwarf Toss in time to get out of here? Oh my goodness, the shield just barely not enough from Collusion.
Not enough, and I tell you what, the problem that happened there was we saw Insomnia going a little bit deep, and he got interrupted during the middle of all that. He had no way to get out of there, and then the roots came down, so he was stuck, forced to use VP in a moment that probably didn't work out too well for them. And here's that boss threat that we're talking about, Jake.
Yeah, Lex, Uther, Hosty, Zeus, how all going to be able to burn through this boss very quickly with no option, no response available. They're well aware of this. They know that they've lost this fight. They've given up the boss. They'll have to defend, but at least they have the global pressure, right? Falstad already on that top temple. Brightwing should be able to get soak elsewhere during this bottom push, but it looks like Collusion might be sticking around.
Sticking around just a little bit. They're going to grab the siege camp. Is Vox Nihili to be able to have a little bit of extra push with that boss, give Grandmaster Jackets a little bit something more to deal with. That boss is going to be the key to try and stretch this lead, because so far still fairly even, but the structure's definitely in favor of Vox Nihili.
I hope Vox don't get too greedy with this. The boss is still very early game. It doesn't last that long. It's already lost most of its health. They're just kind of hanging out trying to protect their giants, but I don't even know if there's a lot of value in that. They're not going to get the single tower out of this, it looks like. Oh, maybe they will. It's close.
Maybe. Regardless, they gave themselves essentially more tower shots, and that's kind of the thing, is that the temples that you're going to get are going to get more value because you have more structure damage done. They have 2 forts down and a little bit of keep wall damage on that bottom lane, which is the ultimate winning lane. When you talk about late game, that boss late game, if you've opened up that opportunity for yourself, you can walk that right in and secure yourself a victory. Well, hopefully the victory is something they can grab here, because they are desperate for it. I think all these teams are. Already we have a bit of an attempt here onto Zugrug in the mid lane, and Mertcamp's just being cleaned up left and right. It's kind of just, you know, the standard rule book happening right now with these teams wandering around, playing safe, getting their soak. I'm trying to get an eye on the talents to see if we're seeing any adaptations being picked up for the builds. Brightwing with Ice Block, not a must-have, but I like it. Yeah, it's not something we see all the time, but trying to play safe, afraid of anybody getting on that backside, especially if Dahaka comes in and Brushstalkers you and you can't get out. Just go ahead and Ice Block there and give yourself, and that basically leaves Dahaka in your back line. We'll see if that actually comes into play, but as you can see, the camp's being cleared up, and Collusion.
Oh, the blink heal dodging the drag. A cool attempt there. A cool attempt. They saw the Brightwing alone. They were looking to set up the trap.
It was like a deer in headlights. He's like, oh no. Okay, I'll blink over here.
Did have Ice Block as well. Didn't even have to use it.
That was good plays by both teams. But you can see the priority to just instantly rotate down, get this bottom fort. I love the call right now. Falstad will be able to fly up. I feel like Insomnia could have left a little bit earlier and given his team a little bit more advantage. But control that vision. Look at the 2 tanks just squaring off. It's like the circle right now. It's just like the circle of doom.
Is that a movie? I've never seen it, J-Howe.
Wow, I just made it up.
Oh, okay. I like it. I'll watch it.
What about the Golden Unicorn?
I don't know if I'm going to watch that one. Falstad's going to get a lot of soak in the bottom, just trying to lock in level 16. It's around the corner here for both teams. Brightwing also getting a little bit more soak for her team, or his team, however you want to look at it. 16-16 is here. And now the fight over this one temple, well, it's about to happen.
Yeah, it's coming in. Falstad's here. Brightwing still soaking in. You're going to see her come in, give that shield over. So Falstad's there. Zeus caught out a little bit in the top. You can see his essence keeping him healed up in the meantime. And his health bar is nice and filled up now.
Yeah, but that's a lot of essence spent. Actually, all of his essence has been spent. This is really tough, I feel, for Grandmaster Jackets to close this because you're looking at fighting into Earthquake. And you see Insomnia looking for that Void Prison. He knows that's essential for them, but a lot of damage forcing the Avatar very early in the fight.
Oh, Zeus in the backside captures Insomnia with that tongue, but as you said, they don't have real engagement. And right now, Dansky is not hitting his skill shots. They're being completely avoided. The further away that you're shooting, that hits hard, and they're going in now. Zugrug stunned out.
That Bless Shield was brilliant behind that Sundering, allowing the Strafe to do so much damage. Hosty just popped off on them. Only 1 kill picked up, but they got 100% of that Shrine, and now a level lead. Also, full control. They can rotate, grab this bottom giant camp, and start pushing those lanes out.
Nobody's done anything to really distance themselves yet, though. Yes, they have 4 kills, does Vox Nihili, but right now, Grandmaster Jacket's finding a very difficult time trying to make this composition work. The farther away you are from skill shots, Zeus.
All right, he can try to drag this out a little bit, but he's dead.
Or is he?
The VP, beautifully done. But he actually steps in it. Malf going to be able to get the heals. Oh my goodness, the
Malf
rotation.
is walking up there, says, I got Twilight Dream. Why don't you come over here? I want to tell you something.
No Blast Shield. The Gust is out. 5 seconds till the Blast Shield is available. They're not looking for the fight, even though all of those heroics are just seconds away.
Wow. Zeus is lucky to be alive there, but masterfully playing Dahaka. That essence, man, is just so crucial to being able to stay alive. And I'm looking to increase essence collected from minions at level 4. One who collects. That feels bad, man.
Yeah, it does feel bad. It also means there's a free night camp if they want it. Doesn't look like they do. Just spawn too.
Yeah, I think this is a safer play. They might actually be going for boss, which would be a really difficult call if they choose to do this. There's 20 seconds left.
There's no
Gust
VP
will
or Gust.
be up.
Well, without VP, though, I don't know if Gust is enough. Oh, if they get the Dahaka, beautiful burrow there. The roots put nicely in place. Drag does whiff. They're looking to stay on the boss. 10 seconds to false it is up. Fly should be available when he responds.
Hosty taking a bit of damage. Insomnia is trying to flank the backside, but there's Earthquake. As you see Zugrug taking a bit of damage. Insomnia is on that backside. 2 seconds. 1 second. Falstad is up. How fast can he fly in? They need somebody to stand on the point to try and steal this boss. He's not going to be in place. Oh, the Dwarf Toss in, Jake.
The Fly is coming. The Twilight Dream is out, but that Gust is here. Boom, it goes, but the Cleanse not going to be available for them to stay on the point. Zugrug steals the boss. The Gust gets the work done, and they are falling one after another.
This is a disaster for Vox Nihili as 4 members are dead. Hosty able to get away. We're going to see Kanasmos get over there just in time. He's not going to be able to hit, and you're going to see this boss is going to be pushing, but this is 2 temples. They're going to be alive. Let's see what their call is. I would love to see them push in just a little bit. Keep a couple of heroes around, get this wall down, and then get maximum value out of both of those temples.
When they cast Earthquake in that fight, they threw so much focus towards Muradin, and that slowed down their boss fight so much. I was almost surprised to see them continue trying to fight the boss. The whole time, Zeratul lingering in the back, providing that threat and just buying the time they needed. And that Gust at the last moment, but that's all you need.
Well, the keep is down from the temple shots and the boss, and now the temple's starting to focus on the other lanes as well. As you can see, the middle keep under assault, or will be soon, as the temple shots are going out fast and heavy right now. That's what happens when you win a 4-team fight. That is the throw pit for a reason, Jake. I thought that was a bad call from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, especially once you spent so much trying to kill that Muradin, it was just, the fight was over at that point for you. You need to leave. But well, this is a big turnaround in favor of Grandmaster Jacket. Sitting there with level 20, they picked up 2 full temples, a boss. I mean, suddenly, we've got Vox Nihili way behind.
Yeah, we see Grandmaster Jackets hit level 20. They took out 2 keeps. And I love the fact that they left 3 people in that bottom lane to secure that keep. The more damage you do that keep, the more value your temple shots will go somewhere else. So they made a great call to be able to send the right people back and to be able to stay on that. Just excellently played right now. Grandmaster Jackets showing why they are one of the top teams here with a chance to qualify for next year's league.
And if you just look at the map, you look how much happier they are when, in terms of like vision. They can see, well, just about everything. The lane's pushing in their favor. They've got the watchtower. They pretty much have the lockdown of the mercenary camps. And you've got everyone on the side of Vox hiding in their base, waiting for level 20.
Yeah, you can see pinging the bush, making sure there's no party bush as the hammer rank goes up, making sure there's nobody in there to grab them. But the camp going to be pushed in, and as you said, with that talent tier advantage, they're stuck behind that wall. There's not a whole lot they can do but poke.
It's the safest option. Dahaka is getting a bit of soak in the bottom, doing everything he can to bring them up to level 20. Zeratul going to try to contest that. That is a small moment where they could try to get in with the Earthquake, but you see they respect that. The fly from Nazmoth. Collusion also phase shifting down. Zeus baited that out. He knew that was a threat.
It was not played well. I snuck my camera over there. It was not... The Singularity spike was super early. The phase shift was a little bit preemptive, and I think the positioning was just really tough. And the fact that he just simply walked backwards on the bridge to stay alive, that's not ideal.
Yeah, oh, it's going to allow them to not really suffer too much damage to their top lane, their final structure really remaining. But unfortunately, they're against 2 temples, and they can't safely contest both.
If they give up 1 full temple, they're going to lose a 3rd keep, and that puts them in a very tough spot for the rest of the game, and it's almost impossible to deal with. So I expect Vox Nihili to actually look for a bit of a fight here, but Zeratul escorting some minions. Blessed Shield going out, though.
The beautiful play there onto Muradin. They're going to actually use Twilight Dream to make sure they get the kill, but late game, well worth it. Look at the base, though. Merc camps, you mentioned that Zeratul pushing this all down. The threat is there. Falstad will be forced off the top temple. This is giving a bit of control on both the temples for Vox right now. A tense moment, but it looks like they're getting the better end of things.
Yeah, for what it's worth, they actually have a 4-on-4 if they choose, and the fact that they are now channeling both temples, look for the re-engage, Jake. They're heading towards the middle. They realize they can kind of force them off this in the absence of Dahaka.
Brush
and Johanna.
Should be ready. There it is, coming in the bottom half of the fight. First kill onto Thrall very early, but the Earth and Shields for the rest of the team should be beneficial. Ice Block used there for Brightwing. The strafe gets Dangsky down to very little health, and the last multi-shot will pick him off. A double kill. They're going for the core.
That started out so well, but now we see Insomnia forced to use that blink to get over. It's a 3v1, and you can see they might be going for this core. Void Prison is down. Only 2 members are alive, but Muradin will be up in just a few moments. Is this enough? The keep is going down. Jake, this is crazy, as on the other side, catapults are going to be approaching the core soon as well.
Too much of a risk. Yeah, they have to turn around. I mean, it seemed like a decent option, but getting that keep down, the guaranteed, is so valuable. They can throw Dahaka back. Again, Brush Talker will be available once again. And these final shots, not going to be enough to take out this keep, but it's going to even things out a little bit.
I mean, we're back in the same situation. Dahaka forced to go back. You actually have an even number if you choose to take a fight. I think that Vox Nihili says, we're actually okay with giving this top temple up, at least for the time being.
Yeah, they're not going to give up the keep. They're just going to make sure they're playing safe. If they lose anyone here, it could be GG.
Would it have been crazy if I said just go to the bottom and secure the boss? Like, you know that they're prioritizing.
Vox?
No, for Grandmaster Jackets. Not now, but like, you knew that you were going to be on that top temple.
I see.
Just fake it and send the rest of the team bottom. Falstad would have been able to fly in.
Feels
wow.
bad, man. One Moonburn would finish that off.
That's crazy. I wonder if they'll send Dahaka to go over there and clean that up.
They got to be worried about this. They're starting to take some damage on this keep, and that's not what you want.
With Epic Mount, Falstad has the potential to go in. We see Insomnia on the Lageth hero extraordinaire of Zeratul. That's always a
I
threat.
hope we're not Lagathing right now. Computer seems better on my end.
This is so tense for both teams.
It is. And this is only game 1, J-How.
That's what I love. I told you that when I tweeted it out earlier, I said there's going to be some really good games because I can't pick a favorite. And these teams are very evenly skilled. And I love what I'm seeing so far out of both of these teams. And right now, they're fighting for it. It's game 1 of a best of 5 of all things.
Happy day, happy day. Well, they're going to grab this night camp, which should give them a bit of peace of mind after they clean up their opponent's night camp. Should keep their top lane safe for the time being. Zugrug and crew holding down the fort, making sure no boss is attempted. I don't think we'll see Vox go for another boss unless they have a clear-cut victory because of that last fight.
Back since then, man.
They have.
That was crazy. Both teams are just simply waiting out the temple phase. Imagine if this is a solo temple top, and then you have to leave the boss bottom. That's something I remember Fnatic was in. Okay, it's top and bottom. You know there's going to be a fight for the bottom. You cannot afford, when you're this late in the game, you can get that boss super quick.
This is really, really tough, though. We've got double global in favor of Grandmaster Jackets, and they realistically only need to take one of the temples. Like, Vox has to chase. No matter what they do, they have to chase.
Well, they're going to have to do just that as Brightwing starting to position up near the top, and you can see the rotation going towards that top. And the thing about that is if you bait it towards the top, you're going to have the opportunity to instantly fly to the bottom. That's why they have Brightwing up at the top. Insomnia going in. The keep is down. It's going to start firing on the core, and you can see all members of Fox Nihili already up towards the top. They're going to be forced to rotate back down already.
Ring around the Rosies. Zeratul just hanging out in base as Dahaka Brush Talkers to sit on the top, but I don't know if that's what they want. They need to look for the fight here, but Dahaka doesn't have the mobility at this moment.
Well, they're going out. I'm actually a little bit surprised as we see Nasmus going up against Dahaka in that top lane. They dropped out of the bottom, and Zugrug down to the bottom, forced to dwarf toss out as Earthquake was used. A couple of heroics. All the heroics are already out. Now we see there's the power of the globals. Zeus isn't going to be able to stay alive. They realize all they have to do is get onto the temple, and they also have a camp. Insomnia seals the deal on Dahaka.
That's going to be game.
Oh, they're trying to backdoor.
Out-rotated. I don't think it's enough time. Both temples focusing on this as we see the catapults, the mercenary camps making their way. Yes, they've started working on the shields, but the VP to stop it out. GG, Grandmaster Jack Escape game number 1.
Wow. Go back to that boss fight, please, Jake. That was crazy. And then it just seems like the